Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to the Heartland Hot Dish Podcast. This is where we come to the table and rediscover the connection and meaning to our food and culinary treasures of the Great Lakes region. Join us as we discover the traditions and stories woven into the fabric of the Heartland cuisine, from the iconic dishes that define the Midwest to the hidden gems waiting to be discovered. We'll take you on a mouth-watering journey through the diverse culinary landscape of the Great Lakes area. Get ready to indulge your senses and ignite your appetite as we explore the rich tapestry of flavors that make up the Heartland Hot Dish. Well, okay, welcome to our half-baked holiday party podcast today. I feel like this is the third attempt to start recording this now. Daniel, is that right?
I think that's right, which I think fits very well with the theme. Half-baked.
Yeah,
This is
half-baked.
only a cup of tea in my hand and nothing else, but apparently all of our technologies have failed this morning. So welcome, our Half-Baked Holiday podcast. We've got Daniel and Marcy here, and we're going to delve into some of our personal traditions, some of those traditions in our Midwest area. Have a little bit of fun for the next 45 minutes to an hour. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun on our last podcast, so I'm very excited to be back with the two of you. This is going to be the highlight of my week. It's definitely going to turn that frown upside down from where we are.
Excellent.
So, in our holiday traditions, I'm guessing we're pretty different. So you're New Yorkish.
Sure.
Sure-ish.
All over the place.
Sure, I'm going to go with New Yorkish.
Okay, that's fine.
You're a homegrown Michigan, Chicago girl.
Michigan.
Sure, you were in Chicago as a chef.
I as a chef, and most of my adult life is in Chicago.
And then I've lived in 27 countries, so I help not at all in here.
Yeah.
So starting off of like some of our foodie traditions, ours back home was about overfilling that table. So when we recorded our very first podcast, I think I said my mother's main skill was to deal with her emotions by just cooking more things rather than talking about them and filling that table up. And so the holidays were always that. And so all the specials came out. So today we dropped off some burgundy beef pies at Michigan Public Radio, which is my mum's recipe, which always brings me joy, and that's always around the holidays. Downstairs, I think we're sous videing Christmas puddings from my sister's recipe. First time I've ever made one of my sister's recipes. I'm a little concerned.
Oh, wow.
It's vegetarian Christmas pudding, so there's no suet in it, and it's got chocolate in there. What things were on your tables as specials when you were growing up as kidlinks, or that maybe now as we enter into being adults? I mean, I'm not quite there yet. I'm still a man-child.
So for Christmas for us, it was honestly all about the gifts, right? And
Oh, really?
as kids, like getting up and of course wanting to run down and open the presents. And my dad was the one who did all the holiday cooking growing up. My mom was like the everyday cook, and he took over for the holidays. And he insisted on us at least eating breakfast first.
Oh, that's cruel.
It was cruel.
It's the most important meal of the
It
day.
was cruel. But
Okay.
I do remember with fun. So he made like this. It was like a casserole, but it was like fluffy eggs and cheese
Sure.
that he baked.
Yep.
And like the cheese was perfectly caramelized. It was delicious.
We're talking about real cheese here.
real cheese.
Okay, very
Ugh.
good. Right, just check.
Velveeta.
Not
here we come.
Velveeta. Wink, wink. Not Velveeta. Maybe actually real Kraft shredded cheese. Thank you very much. So we typically had that for breakfast, and then later on the day after we opened gifts, it was all about like the honey glazed ham, the
Wow.
spiral cut ham, and then scallop potatoes.
Did that
macaroni
ham
and
actually
cheese.
come from honey baked, or was it a different?
Was it a Dearborn?
It was. You know what, Kieron? I don't know. It wasn't a Dearborn. It was just we bought it from the honey baked ham store.
Oh, so it
in
wasn't from the
Lansing.
honey baked ham
It was
store. It was
from
an
the honey baked
official,
ham store.
bona fide honey baked ham.
Honey
Never
baked
I've
ham.
never had a honey baked
Yeah.
ham.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
I've had the Dearborn, and then I've had my own, because it's one of my first ever, like, I am a chef, I will make my own recipe, was a ham
Right.
curing
I,
recipe.
and I understand this, but and as the Jew in the room, right? The honey baked ham has, and the official honey baked ham has always had, and not actually always. That I remember the first time I saw one in a friend's refrigerator, and it was him and three other of my Jewish friends, and we were just gobsmacked, and we just attacked that thing.
Oh,
like,
really
right,
nice.
right.
Excellent. Good.
It was
good, solid.
It was amazing.
See, I think what we
So
would,
good.
for the holidays, I think we'd have bacon sandwiches first thing in the morning. Did the folks that were buying you your gifts, did they ever one year hide all your gifts at Christmas morning and not give you them out?
hide the gifts?
Yeah,
What
there
kind
was
of
none.
cruelty is that?
There was none under a tree once for me and my sister.
Oh.
Yeah. We came running down and nope.
Had you been bad that year?
Did
Well,
you
so-
cry?
So me and my sister were really, I shouldn't say me. I was the good child, and I really was. And my sister would always find the gifts, and then she'd show me them, and we'd go through them. And then our parents were pretty good at hiding them in our house every year, but they hid them behind the curtains in their bedroom, like in the corners, and so they stacked them really high and behind the curtains, and we never found them that year. And so they knew we'd never found them
Yeah.
because we would talk about them, we'd let them know what we knew about,
Yeah.
and so they'd wrap some so you couldn't really get into some of them, but we knew what they were. That year we thought they told us we'd been too bad and we weren't getting anything. And so we came down and there was nothing under the tree. Not a lump of coal, nothing.
Oh, not
No.
even coal.
No, they held out till like 1 or 2 in the afternoon too.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Yeah, it was rough.
How did they break it to you? Like when they finally brought it out?
They put us on a treasure hunt through the house.
Oh, I see.
My mum really liked that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like you would whittle your way through the house and do stuff. Like we had
Okay.
country fairs inside our house and stuff like that. Sorry, bacon sandwiches though for the food. Coming back to the podcast of the food.
What sort of bread and what goes on a bacon
Oh, as
sandwich?
cheap as you can absolutely
Right.
get it, and it was back bacon, the
Okay.
only real bacon known out there. It was HP sauce, not Daddy's. We had the expensive stuff, lots of butter, and it was toasted on the inside and raw on the outside bread.
We've talked about this.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the way to have a sandwich. Toast on the
Yeah.
inside, raw on the outside. Then you get the squish, but then you got something to hold it together in the
right,
inside.
right. It's not falling apart.
But also drier on the inside will allow
Yeah.
you to soak up some of those sauces.
Do want some of my HP sauce in that world.
Yeah, no, that's fun.
What about you, Daniel? What was the morning? So you said most important meal. So what was breakfast, or what is breakfast?
So I don't really have a Christmas tradition. I've always looked at Christmas, with some sort of sense of longing. I've always kind of like, it'd
Yeah.
be really nice to have a Christmas goose, right? And
My kids talked about it to Duncan the other day in the car, and I was like,
Right.
oh dear.
yeah, and every now and again I've been able to go, and participate with some of my friends on this. But my holiday traditions are really those of potato latkes, right? And
Oh,
yeah, I know
I do love a potato latke.
potato latkes are great.
We make
right?
them all the time in our house. I love potato latke.
See, that's I only allow myself to fry in the house this one time of the
Do you
year.
not have a hood? Have we talked about that before?
We haven't talked about this before. I'm looking to get a hood installed, but I don't have.
Yeah,
a
if you
hood.
don't have a hood, you should only fry once
Right.
a year.
and also it's for my I have this this fat tooth. I've talked about this fat tooth
Yeah.
before. It would be very dangerous for me to open up the floodgates of being able to fry at home because then I would fry everything.
100%.
All the
and,
time.
And you do.
Right.
as
I
a
don't. So this is a protection, a method of self-protection for me. It's the special one time per year that we do some frying, and I usually will only do them once over the course of the week, right? But it's shredded, grated potatoes, onions, fried in the oil, standing over the
any egg white in there?
whole eggs.
Whole eggs.
Whole
We do
eggs.
the egg white fold in.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So we
Right.
separate them. I shouldn't say there's no yolk in there, but we separate them, whisk the egg whites, and fold them in.
Oh, that's interesting.
Hmm
Sounds a little goyish.
Sure. I mean, why not, right? Like,
No, it's
Clearly, I was
right.
gonna-
You own it, right?
Yeah,
Right. I
no,
own my thing,
it
you own
makes
yours,
them more
right.
delicious and yummy. Nutmeg?
Nutmeg? No.
Oh, okay.
No. Right.
Well, I guess that ends that
Salt and
conversation.
pepper, a little bit of matzo meal, right? And in
can
fact, I don't
splash on
even
it.
really have a recipe. I just kind of do it till the texture looks right. It's
Oh, I need a
combination of-
recipe. See, I need
Yeah,
a recipe for that
right.
one.
Yeah, it's onions and
Because
potatoes
otherwise,
and
I make
eggs.
an extraordinarily ridiculous number of latkes. Like, I have to control how many.
Blender size.
Sure, I don't
Right.
blend.
Right. Well, and I do a combination of blending and grating. I want to have enough ribbons of grated potatoes to be able to have a little bit of a lattice to hold the thing together, a nice little crispy edge.
Do you guys have like that relatives dressing that turns up at the holidays? Because we've got Gigi in our family, and I shouldn't say mine, but my wife's family. There's Gigi's salad dressing that turns up in the holidays.
When you said dressing, I thought
Cheese
you might be
salad
thinking about
dressing?
stuffing.
Salad
Right,
dressing,
I see.
yeah. It comes in this special jug that comes from Gigi. Gigi has now passed, and she was 99, but the salad dressing lives on, as does her carrots in the crock pot she cooked in. They turn up as well during the holidays too.
What's the dressing like?
Who knows, but it's not good for you. It's so
Is it really creamy?
no, it's like it looks like that orange Italian dressing that you get.
Oh,
You
like
know,
the French
Okay.
dressing?
Yeah,
Right.
maybe I don't
right,
like
right,
the
right.
one in the store that's like
Orange,
orange.
right, yes.
I do not know what it is. My wife's been sick for the last couple of weeks, and her mother brought some over to make her feel better. I'm like, that is not going to help anyone. That's not a good thing.
And is hers super sweet as well?
It is sweet, and that's
Super
surprising because in their family that is not their thing. Like
Right.
sugar is. They are a fat family, not the other side, and so I've been very surprised in that world.
Yeah, I have no idea why that's called French dressing.
I no,
Right, no idea.
We talked
Super
about that.
sweet.
We need to delve into ranch at some point. I know we've talked about
yeah.
that in the past. We
Ranch-
need to have a whole dressing game,
We need a whole dressing episode.
and we will call it
Ra-
salad
ranch,
dressing.
Ranch really needs its own episode.
Well, I got in a lot of trouble over Thanksgiving
Yes.
calling the stuffing and dressing and one in, one not in, and I'm like, dressing is for salads, and that's the only thing that salad is.
Yeah.
Oh.
I hear it. I hear you. Back home, I've never called stuffing anything other than stuffing. It's never been
It's
dressing.
stuffing.
It is stuffing, in or out of turkey. Who
Sure.
cares? It's moving on into that world. So, what other things make their way after we've opened up all those presents? Is it a lunch thing or a dinner thing, as food wise for the holidays? For
We
you?
always treated it like a Sunday meal, where it was like midday. Yeah, like
Okay.
early afternoon.
Like a 3 o'clock ish.
Yeah, but well, more closer to like 2-ish.
Oh,
Yeah,
early.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, a little.
We usually
early
make
today.
it to like 3, 4 o'clock, having not had lunch, and then ride it, and then have one ginormous meal, and then end.
Well, the beauty of having it early afternoon is then there's secondsies later. So,
Oh no,
yeah.
there's bed, and then helping your child with a Lego. That's my entire afternoon.
Right,
of what it
right.
is.
Yeah, well, there's that too. There's Legos, and then you take a break to eat cold ham and mac and cheese, and it's just as delicious. So, yeah.
I know that we're not there, but I am getting ready because we're about to go on our pizza trip this Friday,
Mhm.
which will now date this episode. But there was a thing on TikTok yesterday, and like you can buy a New York slice of pizza for $1, right? It's still out there. It does exist. I
It
think
does,
there's
it does exist.
does exist.
Should you is another question.
A quarter Lego pizza piece is $1.04. It's more expensive to buy a Lego piece of pizza than it is to buy
Buy
a.
an actual slice.
Yes. Inflation has hit the Lego pizza world very hard. Sorry, that one hit me from my TikTok land of what it is. So, Daniel, you, and because if not the holidays, in the holidays, when do you tend to eat around the family getting together?
Dinner time, right? Right, because because when you do Hanukkah, right?
Yep.
It's we celebrate the miracle of lights, and it's supposed to be
Mhm.
sundown when you actually light the Hanukkah. Right?
Yep.
You do the candles, right, and then you will eat. When you do that, but the meals are just going to be regular meals. The presents are nothing special, right? Like you get-
Sure.
right? Like when you hear the jokes about getting socks, right? Like you get socks, right? My sister, when we were young, from my grandmother, got my sister must have been like 7 years old. She got a box of handkerchiefs. Right,
She's winning.
the tears would have indicated something different.
Has that? Do you do that now as an adult now?
I love socks.
Sure.
Right,
But
but
do you
more
have
of as an adult.
Do you have the holidays as a Jewish family, or do you do Christmas at all?
Oh no, we don't do Christmas at all.
At all?
Not at all. Unless we get invited someplace.
Sure.
I would love to be invited.
Hey, you want to come over to my house on Christmas Day? You can have the experience.
As it turns out, this year Hanukkah falls on Christmas too.
Christmas,
Yeah.
Right. It's a weird, strange,
fully aligned this
crazy, crazy holiday
Well, so
season.
see, for us, like we get into that, like trying to get the kids to slow down opening. Then they've opened everything. Then we have usually gone somewhere. So we'll open Christmas really quickly, and then we go somewhere for Christmas dinner at some relative's family's house. And so I'll bring tenderloin of beef. I'll bring some kind of scalloped potato dish, some kind of really good gravy or sauce, like red wine sauce or a jus with me. And then we spend the night there, and we wake up because Henry's, my oldest, birthday is the day after Christmas. So we have an instant birthday that comes right after it. But for us, I mean, the meal that becomes important is more about his birthday, which is really my opportunity to do Sunday roast dinner
Mm.
because my boy likes his roast dinner. And so that becomes, it's like an extra special roast dinner that has all the things in it. Mostly for me. Like, none of my kids want to eat carrots and rutabagas. They don't really want my stuffing. They do want the roast potatoes. Definitely want the roast beef, but they are not into. Henry loves
Yorkshire
pudding.
puddings?
Oh, they love Yorkshire
Right.
puddings.
Right.
Mhm.
Even with the jam and the butter, or with the gravy, both are very acceptable.
Cooked in the beef fat.
100%
Oh
cooked
yeah.
in the beef fat.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. Oh dear God.
but they want roast potatoes, so we don't do mash. So much of my life, I make mashed potatoes, so it's very nice to get into those roast potatoes world for us. We don't really have too many of the weird Michigan like Jello puddings and salads that I've seen that come to our family gathering, which is on Christmas Day. Like we will get together on Christmas Day as a whole family. So there'll be 20 or 30 of us again.
There's
We do that pretty-
typically when we did go to see my grandmother and visit my extended relatives on Christmas, there was some kind of a Jello mold
Oh yeah,
involved.
it's always green. It's always the lime green.
Always green. It always had marshmallows and nuts in it, and it was always just weird enough that I couldn't eat it.
Sure, you can come see it. It's fresh every year.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not fresh. I don't know. Many of us eat it. It might just come back next year and just goes back in the fridge.
Does it have the mandarin orange segments in it too?
No.
No, however,
It's
there
got
was
candied
another
zest in it.
salad that was my grandmother's on my dad's side, and so my dad still makes it as a side dish every year for Christmas, and it is fruit tossed in Miracle Whip, and that does include the mandarin slices.
I had my first
grapes.
meal this Thanksgiving. I had my first Miracle Whip experience.
Yeah.
I've never had Miracle Whip ever.
Yeah.
And it wasn't terrible.
It's not terrible. It's just
I had it on I think I had it on a Costco pumpkin pie that somebody had at one of the gatherings we were at, and I was like, oh,
I
Miracle.
was surprised. I learned this just, I think, this past week that that Miracle Whip actually has dairy in it.
okay,
Right. I did not-
winning.
Right.
I see. I've only experienced Miracle Whip as a vessel to take leftovers to the next house.
Are you talking about Cool Whip or
Oh,
Miracle
Oh,
Whip?
No. Wait.
oh,
I was
I'm
thinking
talking
about
Cool.
Cool.
I am also thinking Cool Whip. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
And it was Cool Whip
No.
that had the dairy, and I assume Miracle Whip
This
does
is
not.
no the Cool Whip's okay. The Cool Whip's okay, but
I
no,
was
this
talking Cool
this
Whip.
was Miracle Whip in the fruit, which is what is weird about it because
It was
it
Miracle
is
Whip in the fruit.
sweet mayonnaise,
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
not a whipped cream.
Right. That's wild.
Yes, that's why it was
Right.
weird.
And you tried it, or you demurred?
I like as a kid would kind of pick at it. I was weird about my fruit anyway. You know, like I didn't like oranges. I didn't like the pith and the weird pulpiness. You know, so grapes like I could do. You know, certain berries. Oh, there was bananas in it. Bananas,
bizarre.
grapes, oranges. Yeah,
That's very
it was.
risque.
It was very like 70s.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a recipe that my dad still makes to this day. And as an adult, I don't know. I just no.
You talked about puppy chow, didn't you, before we started this episode?
Puppy
Because
chow.
that makes it to one of our gatherings for sure.
Puppy chow does.
We always have some kind of like trail mixy puppy chow thing going on.
My sister does not make it as much as she used to. However, puppy chow used to be one of her things.
I think we
As-
need, and then we've talked about this before, that I think we need to have a whole episode dedicated to puppy chow.
Dedicated to
But
puppy chow.
just for people who are listening who have no context for what puppy
I was
chow
I was
is.
one of those for a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, it's Chex Mix with peanut butter chocolate, and then it's tossed in powdered sugar.
Yep.
So
Lots of powdered sugar.
like a
Disturbing amount.
ridiculous amount to where your hands are a mess every time you dig into this stuff.
Yep.
And it's not. There's nothing bad about it.
It's
I mean,
not a
it's
nut friendly side.
sweet. Yeah, it's sweet. It's crunchy. You know, it has with the powdered sugar, that kind of snow like thing. It kind of reminds me of what's that Hungarian cookie, the snowflakey.
Oh,
Yeah,
I know what you're talking
that's
about.
What
Oh,
those, by the way, do often end up on a mixed cookie plate. I've always enjoyed like the crescent moon almond Hungarian cookie. So that was kind of interesting.
Oh,
That
the Keefly.
Keefly,
yes.
yes,
Yep.
or snowflakey. That was one that often ended up on the cookie plate. There was an unbaked Christmas wreath made out of cornflakes tossed in
I'm sorry,
green
what?
dye. Yeah.
Oh, see, I'm on board. Green dye on board.
Green dye is marshmallow,
Gre-
green dye, and then you put either Red Hots or mini red M&Ms.
Oh my God.
When I was growing up, it was Red Hots. Yeah, there's and it was stuck together in this sticky mass shaped like a Christmas wreath.
I have a perverse enjoyment of food coloring.
Yeah.
I was once in a Michelin star restaurant. It was Tantras in Munich, and I was in the kitchen, and it was some oil that wasn't green enough, and I was like, "Well, I'm gonna have to make some more chlorophyll. This is gonna take a while." And the executive head chef walks over with one of those little jars of food coloring and goes, "Use this," and I was like, are is this a test?
Yeah.
I mean,
it sounds like a test, right?
do I wish to use this? Because 100% I'm on board. And he was like, well, what's food coloring for? I'm like, coloring food? And he's like, yeah, use this. And for that day, it like broke my barrier. Not all food dyes are the same.
Sure.
You can get good ones and bad ones.
Yes, true.
But they do have a place and they can be used appropriately. I know,
Right.
shock Kieran or
All
in that
right.
world,
Right.
and you would not have guessed that
It
one.
is not in Blue Moon ice cream, by the way. That is not the appropriate place because guess what? Blue for days.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Just so you guys know. Nor do you want to use green icing on your child's birthday cake.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. But anyway, so the Christmas wreath is just a scant amount, so it's not enough to like,
Sure.
be concerned about. But I just always thought they were weird because to me they were like this big. They looked like a doll wreath, and I didn't want it looked like plastic. And so I'm like, why am I eating this? I don't understand.
See, we get a lot of like things like trifles into the family ones, like layers of some kind of custard, chocolate mix, and some kind of biscuity mix in there as well. It's not quite a trifle, but like it's Aunt somebody's trifle something.
As long as there's pastry cream in there, I'm on board.
There's pastry cream. It's
Pastry
100,
cream
and
for
it's
days.
always no one other than Aunt Jan. Aunt Jan, if you listen, I hope you listen, Aunt Jan, because I always say nice things about you. Other than Aunt Jan, who always tends to make her stuff from scratch, everyone else is buying that thing and then just layering them up, which is okay. I
Sure.
can be on board with you. You've participated, but Aunt Jan always makes them from scratch, and hers are always the better of all of them.
Yeah,
I'm
the
still
trifle.
bitter because I lost a bake-off to somebody who made a trifle with Snickers bars and just store-bought stuff.
Oh,
Sons of
come
guns.
on.
I
That's
know,
cheating.
right? I'm
That's
You had a
right.
trifle off?
No, it was a bake-off. It was an
Oh.
ad agency bake-off, and and I made something.
Can we do I know, okay,
Right.
I know this isn't a Zingerman's podcast today, but like, can we do a Zingerman's Bake Off? That would be kind of fun.
I feel like it's not really
Oh,
fair to compete
feel
against
like-
the bakers.
Oh, totally. But if we
I don't
won,
think-
Daniel, but
Oh,
if we
yes.
won,
I don't think we can include the bake instructors. I don't. That's just not fair.
that'd be kind of
Right.
fun though. We could get together and like Zing
Yeah.
Chain and
Right.
you
Al-
like.
right. Although the more I think about it, the more I actually do want to compete against the professionals.
Well, okay, so
Yeah, if you won, because expectation low,
yes,
then you win
yes,
very high.
or even
So-
place.
the one
Yes,
that
yes.
always sells out every year, the fancy schmancy cookie
Mm-hmm.
bake,
Yep.
like that would be the one.
They do so many of those
They
classes.
do so many of those, and I've always wanted to go to one, and they're sold out like months in advance.
Wasn't it in a cookbook? Didn't they have a cookbook out for it? Like not a cookbook. There was a book.
A pamphlet. Yeah, they do like fancy
fancy
schmancy.
schmancy.
No. It was in a book. It was in a child's storybook.
Oh,
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
child
yeah.
storybook.
Yeah.
Huh.
Really?
I'm gonna have to go find
Okay,
it.
you have to go find that.
No, my
I
killer
don't want to
app
step
from,
away from the mic for a
right.
moment,
fr-
but
from
like I'm gonna look-
cookies are Florentines.
Oh,
right? So I
love a
like
good
doing-
oh,
right.
I
Well,
love a
so
good
this is me and the
Florentine.
fat tooth, right? It's I didn't realize until I made them for the first time, like how you get that
Do
lacy
you use
texture.
that
Wow.
nice red food dye glacier cherry in there?
Dear God, no.
Yeah.
What? Then it's not a
You
Florentine.
have to.
You
Red
have
food
to.
dye?
The like really bright red
The
glacier
pink-
cherries.
The pink.
Oh, the cherries?
Yeah, with the
No.
stem.
The pink cherry.
No, no.
The
no,
maraschino?
No,
They're
no,
not in
no.
your Florentines?
No, they're not in my Florentines. The
So you've
Florentines.
got almonds.
So
you've
there
got
were
any candied
almonds.
fruit?
Yeah.
I used some orange zest, and then I took my Florentines once they had cooled, and I sandwiched them together with a chocolate orange ganache.
You sandwiched,
I
not just
did.
on the
Chocolate
bottom.
is-
Not just on the
chocolate
bottom. I
orange.
actually made a little sandwich.
Oh.
I know.
Yeah.
So like
Right.
for
This
us,
got me second place.
Yeah.
we are Eccles cakes. Love me some Eccles. My uncle
Mm.
used to eat Eccles cakes, which is just like a rough puff pastry. So like grated butter, not layered. So you make puff pastry, but you're not layering it. So the grated butter creates a kind of fake puff pastry effect in it, and you stuff it with dried raisins, currants. You could put Michigan cherries in there for now being in Michigan, and I do. Some candied zest, so lemon, lime, and orange in there. And then you'll brown sugar and butter, and you like envelope it up like a little ball, and then you cut slits on the top, and the sugar melts out the top, and and that's really good with cheddar. So not just you get your
Butter.
Eccles cakes and cheddar cheese. That's the way
Okay.
forward.
All right.
And then fridge cake. Fridge cake is by far my friend. My sister made it yesterday and told me about it, and I was very upset.
So where do you two fall? Because this is something that hasn't come up yet. Where do you guys fall on fruitcake?
100% all in.
Love the fruitcake.
100%. I like my figgy pudding,
Mhm.
and then I also like my Christmas cake with It has to be made 12 months in advance. It has to have had a glass of brandy poured over the Christmas cake every month.
By Christmas cake, you're talking about fruitcake.
Yeah, the fruit cake
okay.
in like a nice square.
Mhm.
And then you have to, so you've poured a glass of brandy on it every month, and then it's covered with a cheesecloth, and it sits somewhere warmish. Then on the month, you put your last glass on the 1st, and somewhere around the 12th or 13th, you cover it with marzipan. Then you cover it with royal icing, and then you make like a skating rink decoration on the top.
Whoa.
I can show you. My sister and I have competitions of what they should look like. She sent me one of her fails once, and it looked like the snowman had melted. It's a little bit of a crime scene. Here's what it looks like on the
This
top.
reminds me of building like a gingerbread house.
Yeah. No,
actually.
this is my mum always did. Hers was really good. So she would let you can visualize it so easy. The edge of that fruit cake. So it's a big square. And you'd have the marzipan over the edge, and then the royal icing over the top, and you'd see both on the edge, so it's like dripping off the edge.
Right.
But it looked like a skating rink, and then you had your snowman, you had little guys on little ice, like, so she had some figurines, she had ones that she made in there, we had trees, no trees, like, it would change every year.
So is it like a 9x13 pan? Is that the...
It was probably like a 12 by 12 square.
Gotcha.
Mm.
Right.
I got to remember it being square. The one I use at home is very small, because no one in my house eats it. No one, only me. And so I make probably like a 6 by 6.
When you say a glass of brandy, is that like
A glass.
Yeah.
Like
a 4-ounce glass?
Like you've got a
Like
rocks glass and it is
Right.
full.
That's like a 7-ounce glass.
And then do you?
It might
sip
be big.
throughout the day? Are you a chugger or are you a sipper?
Oh, so that pours all over all over it,
all over it. Okay.
and then you take one for yourself.
Right.
Not a
Okay.
full glass, because then
You,
you're
so you
that.
could set this thing on fire.
Oh, you could. This thing. I mean, Tabitha, my business partner here, does not like unfinished booze. Like it has to be cooked off,
Yeah.
and so she is not a fan at all.
Flaming fruitcake.
Yeah.
I
Yours-
like it.
You had some thoughts on fruitcake.
I'm not a fruitcake person.
Even the one from Mail. What's the one from Mail?
Robert Lambert, which is
Oh.
why,
The
which is one of
Robert-
the reasons why I asked, because we're talking about Midwestern
His
foods,
stuff
and
is
he's right.
amazing.
He's Wisconsin based,
And
right?
not
First,
joke.
Per your
Right.
recommendation, I bought that for my boyfriend's parents. I think it's 2 Christmases ago. Whenever we started doing the Nash,
Okay.
it was like you included that
Mhm.
in like one of our first editions, and they gave me a slice and they absolutely loved it, and it was very tasty. Like something like that, yeah, absolutely. But the fruit cakes that I grew up with, the kind that you bought like at Horrocks, that were like hard enough, like you could break a window or shatter a tooth. Not a fan. Not a fan.
His
Like,
are just
yeah.
so look. I mean, it's
Yeah.
Robert Lambert. You go to his website, because I just did. I got my second computer. I've learned to bring 2 computers now, so I can Google. But his website is something from the 80s. Like
Oh yeah.
when
Yeah.
the internet was launched, this also was launched.
Right.
But his are so good.
But see, this is what I like about them, and this is how Kieron, how Daniel sold them to me, was how thinly you slice them,
Yeah.
because you need to be able to see through them.
It's like a toast bread.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a toast bread, and so that was the appeal to me. I was like, that I can do, but when I was growing up, it was like, have a hunk of fruitcake.
See the struggle. We sell our figgy puddings downstairs, and I've always wanted to sell the Christmas cake. No one's. I mean, if you're not an expat, if you're not a Brit, you're really not playing the game. Totally supportive of it. But I mean, Robert Lambert has his for like $75 on his website. We sell. I'd have to look how much we sell our Christmas puddings for, but let's say it's $40-50.
Mhm.
We don't really make any money. Like
Mhm.
the amount of cost when you use good quality dried fruit in there.
Yeah.
And ours are £1.50 Christmas puddings. You don't make anything from the time and the labor to do the whole thing, to the mold you got to bake it in, to then packaging and going out the door. It's really, I sincerely mean it. Like
Oh yeah. No,
his have got nuts in it, and for the figgy puddings we do here, it's vegetarian, so there's no suet in it, there's no nuts in it. But his have all of those things in it, and the nuts would drive the price up even more. Like
and the labor that goes into it. And actually the reason why
I had a
came up-
mental break making our Christmas puddings this year here.
the reason why I thought about the fruitcake question was because of the color question that you raised. Because one of the things that I love about this fruitcake is that he doesn't use artificial colors. The monks up in the Upper Peninsula who also make fruitcakes use dyes and colorings to to make their fruit and serve a more traditional way. I actually brought both the Robert Lamperts and one of the monks' cakes to my in-laws
really?
in Pennsylvania to try them side by side to see which ones they liked, and they actually preferred the monks, which is I think more of that traditional fruitcake that many people grew up with. But what Robert does blows my mind because he's able to get those cherries, those glacé cherries,
They're like
as
orangey.
as red as
Yeah,
right
that-
as an artificial dye. But what he does, right, is he glacés them in blood orange juice, which is what makes them orangey, adds to the
Yeah.
citrusy stuff of it, right? So you can get those colors.
I just like that he has 4-year-old ones.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, they're sold out.
Yeah.
I
get
actually
them.
prefer the
They're
younger ones.
aged.
Do you really?
I
Yeah.
do. The younger ones are sort of bright and alive, right? And some of this may just be from me not growing up with a fruitcake, history or heritage or tradition, right? Like, so fruitcakes are still new to me. I don't have any of the baggage that comes with them.
See, we as a kid, I think I remember fruitcakes being like, because we would have tea bread.
Mhm.
So it was like a very dense fruit cake, basically, that you'd slice thing, you toast in the toaster, and then you put butter on it, and you'd have that with your cup of tea all the time. So fruit bread was kind of normalized, and this was
Mhm.
like the rock star version where you got all the big dried fruits in there, the ones you weren't really allowed the rest of the year.
Right. Well, and I think the similar thing to fruitcake, is also Stollen.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
And the bakehouse makes a lovely.
it's pretty
Stollen.
killer. I very much enjoy their
You
Stollen.
know what I ended up really falling in love with when I worked in Chicago? I worked at the Park Hyatt. The chef who was there when I got hired in made panettone every
Mm.
year for Christmas.
Oh.
So good. And I've had this store bought version, and it's not quite the same. And so I just feel like again, when it's homemade.
Have you ever made them?
I have never made them. I like his was tall, like it
Yeah.
was huge.
So when they come out the oven, you literally skewer the base and you hang them upside down, so
Yeah.
they rest upside down. I have lost so many panettones in my life of screwing up. It's an art. And a
Yeah.
really good panettone is just, they're basically indestructible once they've set and rested and everything. And they ship them around the world. They're just amazing.
Are you guys familiar with the From Roy?
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Have you had one yet?
Yeah.
I have not.
Oh,
I've looked at them
100%.
longingly and I'm just
All
like,
in, brother.
Oh,
All
oh
in.
my
Yeah.
gosh.
Somebody asked me what I wanted for the holidays, like gift wise, and I was like, maybe that should be my answer.
That's a good one,
I
right?
could have a Robert Langdon. Robert Langdon. Oh my god! Wow, I went all the way to the dark side of Dan Brown novels. Robert Lambert fruit bread, because honestly,
Yeah.
they are. I mean, it's hard when you're talking about something that's like $75 and no one else in your family likes it. Is a
Yeah.
very hard sell.
And it's 6 inches long. It's not big.
No, no,
It's
it's
tiny.
It is. It's
Right.
beautiful, but you have to really know you've got a group of people who are going to eat it, and
Or not, because I have one in my fridge and I'm the only one in my house who likes it. And what I just do is I cut myself a slice of it every now and again, rewrap it, throw it back in the fridge.
How long
and
have
it's
you
fine.
kept it?
I've kept it over a year.
Over a year.
Over a
you've
year,
consumed it.
sort of in progress. And so what I do is I cut off one of the
That
ends.
can't be in the summer sale on mail order, can it?
No, it's not.
It's
So-
that can never get on sale. I
it will
feel
never
like.
go on sale, right?
It will never go on sale.
But I cut off one end and then I cut my slices off
Sure,
in
sure.
the middle.
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
so I use it
Yep,
right, to help keep it, and wrap it up in the cheesecloth that still stays damp in the plastic bag.
Do love those game shows. What else is out there? So for you, what are for Hanukkah, as far as those fond memory foods that really come up at this time of the year? Or is
It's
it not
There-
really?
It's latkes, right? It's
That's
so
really-
we celebrate the miracle of the oil, right? So it's things that are fried. So I've used this as as an excuse, taking sort of a liberal approach to the idea behind it, and just trying to eat fried food all the time, as much fried food as
Should
I
we
can.
buy you a
Really-
deep fryer?
No,
olive
you
oil
should
deep
not.
fryer?
No,
Yeah.
no, no.
They're not
Right.
that expensive.
I
Don't
want to
get us-
install the hood. There's a hood that I want. It's a whole story. But,
Before I had a hood in our house, because our house is like 1910s, we would take the fryer and I'd fry on my deck.
sure. Or using a turkey fryer is another.
It was just a little counter one, and I had an
Yeah.
extension cord, and I was out there because it would just make the ceiling. I'd repainted it at least twice, and I was like, "Fine, I'm gonna fry outside. It has to be good
So
weather."
that grease coats everything. You can't get rid of it.
Yes.
You have to.
So
degrease
nothing,
your
no
house.
desserty.
So donuts,
Okay.
fried donuts are good, right? I tried
Fried
right.
donuts are good.
Fried donuts are
Sure.
great, but not all donuts are great, right? Dunkin' is the bane of my existence, right?
Yeah.
Oh, right. I could spend an hour skewering Dunkin', and I would be delighted to do so, but that's different show, I suppose.
A different show.
Right. Right. The traditional donuts are these Israeli confections called soufganiot,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Right. So
Sorry, I
that's a
was-
thing. But I honestly I prefer a really good traditional American donut, yeast raised, light, really well fried, good little crisp, teeny tiny crisp on the exterior. Just want a smidge of it to let you know that it was fried. To sort of pay that off, but with a really, light, tender crumb on the inside.
Do you remember that cookbook we did? We did a dinner here, the Jewish. Oh my gosh,
Was it the Jewish holiday cookbook?
Jewish holiday
Yeah.
cookbook.
Mm-hmm.
There's a competing 2 donut recipe in there that's really good.
Uh,
We never did it for
Ooh.
that dinner, but I pulled those up and cooked those out.
We need a donut cook-off.
I can do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Right. DJ's, on Packard is really pretty darn good.
Yeah.
See, I'm stuck out in Chelsea, and we like our Chelsea bakery, and it's fine. But,
Yeah.
there's no like rock star. Like the Chelsea bakery does a really nice job, and they really do. But I want like some more fun ones in that world. They're like the normal like town bakery, which is great.
Yeah,
It's the
sure.
same with the Dexter bakery. Love it. But like I want those slightly funner ones, like
Yeah,
some
right.
really good apple, like an apple butter that's in there or something like that would be
Yeah.
really
Right.
fun.
The bakehouse, the old recipe for the olive oil coffee cake was another thing that I enjoyed because again that's the the miracle of the oil. But
Right.
they've taken the almonds out, and the almonds I loved in
They
there.
took the almonds
They-
out of the olive oil coffee
They
cake?
took the almonds out of the
Yeah.
almonds.
No.
It's
They
out of that
did.
world.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Try no limit allergens.
Yep.
Right. Which I can respect, but like I haven't had the new one yet. But
Okay.
right. It's hard when people
My
change things that you love.
My mum's was a blueberry tort, and it was like a It's almost frangipane. It's maybe a little more nut than it should be for a straight frangipane tart, and you put blueberries through it. So it was made like a short breast crumble, and you drop blueberries in, then do another layer of it and bake it, and that was so good. That's what we would do because that came from her Jewish recipe. So
Yeah.
have Jewish genes, but
Yeah.
non-practicing, non-eating that way ever.
Right. And as a younger man, I dated Italian Catholic women. Right, and right because there's a very
Did
similar
you
sort
date
of.
my wife?
I did not. But there's a lot of
Sure.
similar culture stuff there, right? Strong mothers, a lot of focus on food, right? A lot of
Yeah.
guilt, right? So
Yeah.
so it all sort of felt very familiar, and I got to go to Christmas dinners, and that's when I had sausage stuffing for the first time.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Do you ever have the
Ooh.
raisin gravy? Like a raisin sweetened gravy over the hams and things? I love
Ooh,
that.
I don't know if I did.
Where
Right.
you
Raisin
put
gravy.
raisins into your gravy and then you blitz it and puree it, and it adds that sweetness and that kind of like it's when you add red currant jam to like a jus.
Mhm.
Okay.
Like that's a thing,
Yeah.
but then you're just adding a dried fruit into it, so it's got even sweeter kind of hit taste into it. Have you ever done the Christmas pierogies as well?
I have never done Christmas pierogi. I know that's a traditional.
Yeah. I've played in the Christmas pierogi.
Right.
What
Christmas
what
pierogi.
goes into a
Exactly
Christmas
what you think. It's like a figgy pudding pierogi.
Mhm.
Oh,
It's
interesting, right.
basically the same kind of thing, but it goes in there and gets steamed. It's kind of good. Not gonna lie,
Sounds
yummy.
good. Yeah.
Again, my family not on board. Me love it.
Did I tell you guys that? So my boyfriend's mother is of Russian descent, and she gave me some of her pierogi the other day after I told her I did this pierogi podcast.
Yep.
And like sheepishly told her, "Oh, I did this. You should listen to it." And she brought these things out of her freezer, and they were as big as my face. They were
No.
huge.
Huge pierogi
And
days.
cheese potato. Cheese potato.
Cheese potato.
Cheese potato. And she's going to teach me how to make them. So I'll report back to you guys. But I mean, hopefully for Christmas then, because I know it's something that she typically does for Christmas and it's a family thing. But I think for me, that was always the beauty of like, particularly the baked goods for Christmas is it was like a family thing. You did it together. And so when I was growing up, like my dad.
Well, that's the Christmas pudding, the figgy pudding, and putting the penny in there, which
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to do. So lame. People choking on a penny. Apparently, that's a bad thing now.
Is the idea that if you get the one with the penny, you're supposed to make the puddings next year?
No, you're lucky.
Oh.
You're lucky.
I
It's,
see.
Hopefully, lucky you didn't.
it's
choke.
kind of like the baby.
Yeah, dropping the penny in the Christmas pudding, and then whoever gets that in their slice of Christmas pudding is the lucky one, which
So
is
it's-
a way to really persuade children to eat figgy pudding
Oh, right.
because then they
Because they-
win. There's a
they-
game, right?
There's a game involved. You could choke on the
Right.
penny.
I do believe that the real reason we do that is so the kids eat the booze, so they go to sleep.
Oh.
That makes sense.
I think it's
Oh.
the same with Christmas cake back home and figgy pudding.
See,
It was a
for-
way to get booze into kids, so they go to sleep.
Yeah,
Sorry,
for
this
us
is
it
not
was-
supporting
yeah,
that.
for us it was the opposite. It wasn't like give the kids the booze so they could go to sleep. Give them more sugar.
Oh no.
Give them more
Yeah.
sugar. So the Christmas cookies. Let's talk about the Christmas cookies for a second. So straight up sugar cookies, right? And this is where I actually kind of started to learn how to cook, mind you, because my
Oh,
dad
really?
had a stand mixer. No, he got the recipe from my mother, but my mother was often working when I was growing up. So he took her recipe, which was off of a Domino sugar box, by the way. And he sent me the recipe the other day, and it has like the lid taped to the recipe. So it is the food coloring, the whole bit. I just remember him taking that powdered sugar, this ancient like 1960s stand mixer, and him showing me how to make icing. And me being fascinated by this process, I'm like, you just took sugar and turned it into this magical confection and I can lick the bowl. And it's all these different colors, and my fingers and my face are all now red and green and blue and yellow. And I can smear it all over these cookies that are, guess what, made out of sugar. And then I can sprinkle it with more crystallized sugar. It was an amazing thing. And then we would be up for hours because, of course, before
You're just
we would...
glowing. You are so excited right
I'm
now.
It's a great memory.
excited.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful memory. And then the fact knowing that this was my mother's recipe then, because they used to make them as a couple before we were born. And then my dad just took this over because, like me, has a sweet tooth, and that's where I inherited this. So Christmas cookies were his jam.
Do you remember the Leberkuchen?
Oh, yeah.
How do you say it?
Leberkuchen.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
The ones with the almonds on the top and the rice paper underneath.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
those,
So good.
them in the tin.
Yeah.
I think mail order sells those sometimes.
They
right?
do. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, your butter cookies, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you sell those for Christmas in a
Yeah.
tin?
No, but I could.
I think you should.
We
Have you-
can.
have
You
you-
and I can.
Do
They're
you
really.
remember when they did the pie and mash? Was it back in May, the last pie mash you did?
Yep.
Okay. And then did I tell you guys about how like the whole thing was an extraordinary experience, by the way, from start to finish. But my favorite part was this one square butter cookie and a sleeve at the end. And I've eaten all of those hydrogenated oil, quote unquote, butter cookies growing up, like with the little Scottish whatever, but this was to die for, this cookie. And I
See,
feel
we
like
could
if
have
you're
a
in good
bake-off.
Saldies.
Yeah.
We could have the bake-off
Right.
game.
And-
I kind of
and-
like this
And
idea.
you know what I
I'm not a great
appreciate
baker,
about
but
it?
I'm competitive.
Like in the Christmas
See,
tins.
me too.
Yeah, in the Christmas tins growing up, you had all those different shapes. You had like the piped whatever, blah
See,
blah blah. I like the simplicity of the square.
Did you have the shortbread tins? Did they make it over here, like the Scottish shortbread tins
Yeah,
with all the
yeah.
different, like the spirally ones?
Yeah, this is
I think
exactly
they were
what I'm
Danish.
talking about.
They were the
No, no.
blue
Scottish.
tins.
Scottish,
Scottish.
and like they were piped, and then you would get them in like a red tin. It wasn't
Right.
the
Because
like,
there's the red tins and there's
wasn't-
the
it
blue
wasn't
tins.
shortbread, but it was shortbread-esque kind of
Mhm.
cookies, and like there would be some that were covered in chocolate, some that weren't, but they were all the same. They were all the same. They were just slightly different shapes in that world. Those I remember those distinctly because we would reuse those tins, and then that's what our cookies would go into the next one.
Mm.
I love a good cookie tin. Have you seen down in the coffee station? We've got like a world of them.
You do.
Yeah, a bunch of old cookie tins from like all the way back to like the 1790s. I've
Holy
got
cow.
a tin from the 1790s.
Oh, I love it.
I love good old tins. Okay, sorry.
yeah.
Diverge very
So-
quickly into the world.
So cookies, and then the peanut butter blossoms, and it's interesting that they made their way out here because that was a California thing, right? The
Yeah,
peanut butter blossom with the Hershey Kiss.
Yep.
And then something my sister always liked to make, starting as a teenager, and we were talking about Cool Whip earlier, and I was reminded of this. Hershey bar pies. Have you guys ever had these?
No, but my soon-to-be 10-year-old is leaning into this podcast and listening now.
Okay.
He loves a good Hershey bar.
A Hershey bar pie. Okay, and this is going to be very easy for him to
Listen
make.
up, Owen. This is going to be the recipe to follow.
It's very simple. You just melt some Hershey bars and get yourself some Cool Whip and fold the Cool Whip into the melted Hershey bar.
Owen, I
Pour
think
it
you
into
can pull
pie
this off.
shell and put it in the fridge, and that's it. And then, of course,
Wow.
douse it with more Cool Whip when it comes out. And it's supposed to be like a chocolate mousse pie, right? And you can do it with the almond, or you could do it without the almond if you're not.
I want to send it to that TikToker who
Yeah.
does like old recipes. There's a like young guy. He does like old British recipes. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Well, okay, so
I'll look on my
there's like I Spy Antiques, who I follow religiously, and he does vintage recipes gone horribly wrong. And I don't know that they're necessarily British, but they do often.
They're not all British, but it
Yeah.
feels like there's a lot of bad British World War
They
II
do
recipes. in
often
there.
involve a really bad Jello mold from the 60s.
So part of
with
me wants to
tuna or
take that
something weird.
Hershey pie, and instead of melting the chocolate, just shaving it and then folding it, sort of like
Oh, now you're going to be bougie?
like a
Now you're gonna be
semi-Freddo.
bougie.
Now I'm going to be bougie. Now I'm going to be bougie. This is exactly what I'm gonna be.
So what drives me a little bit crazy and makes me kind of itch a little bit is that I told you, like, I learned how to, like, cook when we were making the cookies and all that stuff with my dad. So I remember him teaching me how to make whipped cream from scratch, right? In this
No one in my
1960s
wife's
mixing
family
bowl.
knows how to make whipped cream. It's so silly.
Almost nobody knows how to make whipped cream. Full stop.
I don't
What? Oh my
remember.
That is so wrong.
Look on the
It's-
internet. Look on the internet. Look on
No,
Instagram
like,
of people
people-
posting pictures of whipped cream.
And it's
It's all
butter.
bad.
It's
exactly.
butter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, and then they pour all the sugar in it.
Is that why it
It's
exists? Is
terrible.
that why the can and the because people just don't know
because
how to
people
do it?
don't know how to do it.
They
right?
don't know how to do it well. They think they know how to do
That's
it.
so funny.
So
Right.
my
Of all the
dad,
things.
Oh
my
my God.
dad taught me how to make whipped cream, good whipped cream, right? But then here it would come with my sister with a Cool Whip in the same mixing bowl, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make my Hershey bar pie, and she would dump this hydrogenated stuff into into the bowl that I just lovingly made this homemade whipped cream in, and so yeah, I kind of like, ugh.
Wow. This is
Yeah.
a way to end the podcast.
Well, before we end, I've got one last burning question, about the Midwest and Christmas for you both, because you guys celebrate this. Have you ever gone to Frankenmuth during Christmas or before Christmas?
No, we can't. We do like the June to go to Brawner's to get the Christmas decoration.
Right.
And that's
Because it's Christmas all year round in Frankenmuth.
It is.
365 days. In fact, when you're almost to Florida, there's a sign.
They had a bassoon Christmas decoration in there, so I was on board. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm on board with this
Yeah,
place.
there's
No, never done the Frankenmuth Christmas thing.
But you
Yeah.
have.
yes.
Yes.
It's a madhouse. But you kind of like have to get in the spirit of it in order to go because there's literally thousands of people
Do
there.
they do that drip cake where it's on a spit and you pour the dough on the outside as it's in front of like a rolling spit? God, I'm so bad.
I'm just.
This is the half-baked
Right.
show where I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know
right.
any
Yeah.
names. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Is that the Hungarian? Because I thought
Yes,
there's
I think
Hungarian sort
it's
of
Jewish
pie
or
cake,
Hunga-
right?
And it's on a spit and you spin it and you pour the wet batter. It's a batter-esque and it bakes slowly and it keeps spinning out and it looks like a Christmas tree at the end.
Oh, it looks like a Christmas tree as opposed to like a chimney. Because I've heard of the chimney.
Oh no,
cakes.
this one looks
Right.
like a Christmas.
Oh, so the one I'm thinking
I
is
have
of
no idea.
like
Neither of us know what it's called.
right, and this
Spiral batter cake.
right. No,
This
no,
is
because
in
right.
Frankenmuth.
I saw somebody with some. We drove through once, but we were not stopping. But I remember. seeing-
There's actually a relatively new place in downtown Ann Arbor that has the chimney cakes.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, yeah.
What's it called?
I think it's called chimney cakes. House of Chimney Cakes.
Cunning. They must be British with that naming scheme.
Do you guys remember the Belgian waffle place
No.
in Ann Arbor?
Oh, I do. Mandy went there, right?
Yes.
She went there for a hot minute when it opened.
yeah, it was-
Isn't that where Spencer is now?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
And it actually had like the sugar pearls.
Yeah,
in it.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, the
Uh,
pearl sugar is amazing. How about Dutch babies? Is that a Christmas thing? No,
No.
that's not a Christmas thing. Right.
No.
Right. See, as the
See,
two
I'm-
are perhaps-
I'm Church of England, and so like Church of England's nice and easy with like the religious side of what we can get in. We let all the foods in. Like we have curry on Christmas.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, we have curry on Christmas. There's no like hard and fast. We just love a good. Any reason to have more Sunday roast dinners in our family was a good reason. The big cake that we had was like the profiterole cake.
Oh.
So you make the
Like a
profiteroles,
croquembouche?
kind of like a croquembouche, but it was chocolate covered,
Okay.
and then it was done over a traffic cone, where they were filled with homemade creme patissiere, covered with dark and milk chocolate. You get both and white. My mum would occasionally do white, not too much of them. But my mum's choux pastry would stay crispy for so long. See, that's the curse of any good eclair or profiterole is how quickly that sucker goes soggy. My mum would
Apasagi.
bake them that morning, fill them just before we started. So when you got to them, the custard was still icy cold. And it was assembled. It was on this old traffic cone that we had in our house forever and a day. I love the good old traffic cone. Okay, so we are coming to the end. I still can't find the spiral
Well,
cake.
while you're looking and we're coming to the end, I also have a PSA because Marcy said something I needed to address, which was about the cold ham that happens sort of after the right sort of in the afternoon or evening of
Yep,
or
cold
second
ham.
seas cold ham.
I've got a
But-
story.
Right, but if you're having a honey baked ham, and this is a sort of pet peeve of mine, if you get it and you look at the instructions say do not heat this ham. It says this, and Kieron has never had an actual official honey.
No, I've done the Dearborn guy.
Yeah, but the honey baked thing is this marvel of science and technology, right? And it is kind of this really perfect balance of saltiness and juiciness and sweetness and crispness. And if you heat it, if you warm it up in an oven, you're going to lose that balance, and it's going to be
Totally,
tragic.
100%. And this was a point of contention for me growing up. I never liked. My dad would put slabs of this ham in a casserole dish and throw it in the oven, and it would drive me absolutely crazy. You're supposed to enjoy it cold. And so,
They say room temperature.
I
You take
just-
it out, let it sit for an hour or so.
and I say this with much love in my heart because I love my dad, but it's kind of like the Hershey bar pie thing,
Right. If
Like,
you want a warm,
yeah.
if you're the type of person who requires a warm or a hot ham to enjoy for Christmas, do not buy a honey baked ham.
So
right.
Period. Full stop.
Exactly. It's just
Buy another
part of
one.
this. It's part of this culture of growing up in the Midwest where we do weird things. We do things like we put mayonnaise in fruit.
yes,
You know what I mean?
yes, you do.
We make just like Jello molds out of any scrap we can find, and then we turn candy bars into pie, and then we heat honey baked ham.
We'd
And
we'd had that a holiday 2 years ago, and we'd had not honey baked, but it was a Dearborn ham, and I had warmed it in butter and honey and made like this emulsified sauce, and we put it in the oven so it was warm out of this aluminum pan. I brought 4 pans. After Christmas dinner, they'd eaten like half a pan. Now, Joni's family is very good at day drinking. They are much better at night drinking. They're exceptional. They have a skill that,
It's good to specialize.
oh my God, they're as a group of 30 people, they are solid. And it gets to like 1 in the morning, and there's dancing in Becky's kitchen. Neighbors from 3 doors down with their kids who were like 5 and 6 turn up. The next neighbors turn up, and there's these 3.5 tins of ham, which was probably about 3 hams, at least, were consumed in under 20 minutes. by them
Holy
all.
cow.
It was like, it just disappeared into people. I'm like, oh, you were hungry.
It reminds me of the 3 Jews around the refrigerator with the honey baked ham. Right,
they-
right.
yeah.
They,
Shackles.
they were
Right, yeah.
so excited. Everyone was so excited about lukewarm ham
Right.
in some buttery honey sauce.
yeah.
My friend had to fend us off. He's like, we need more of that ham for dinner.
All right, I'm going to pass Daniel a picture and a computer so he can say the name because I will incorrectly pronounce this name. Can you say that name from a distance?
Lithuanian spit cake.
Okay, there you go. Lithuanian spit cake.
Right,
It's a
because it's
Lithuanian
cooked
dish.
on a spit.
Okay,
Right, yeah.
so it literally, it's so good. Go Google it because it is killer. And so it's like this loose batter, and as you drizzle it very carefully, and you can make it look more like a tree or not like a tree in different spaces and things, and it's literally over burning open fire. Look how cool that looks.
And there's still a ton of things from
Right.
this region that we haven't gotten to, and probably
Here he
don't have time
goes.
to today, right? Because
What's
I was
the cookbook you've got in front of you?
the cookbook I have in front of me is the new Midwestern Table by Amy Thielen, and she talks about this Scandinavian Christmas dessert called rumagret, right? I know, right? It's a dairy pudding. It looks really unsweetened, looks lovely. This is a book that I would recommend that people get. But I'm just gonna tease it and do that as tempting because I'm sure that there are still other regional specialties for the holiday that, as much as we've talked about here, this is still the
Didn't even do
half-baked
pigs in
episode.
yeah, we didn't do pigs
Right,
in blanket. We
right.
could come back to another one.
Cheese balls.
We could, but this is also
Cheese
right.
balls.
It's
Cheese
all right.
balls.
I think cheese balls is its own episode too.
Yeah, but no, but like
Right.
that is like
Oh,
the
I'm all on board for cheese
number
balls.
one hors d'oeuvre going
Yes.
to any Christmas party is the most gigantic cheese ball anybody could make, encrusted with nuts, sitting on a table with Ritz crackers.
But I think this is a great
Ritz.
opportunity for people who are listening to be able to reply back to us and let us know
Sure, you
things that
put
we've
put
missed.
fruit and nuts in cheese. It's just because you have bad cheese.
It's-
I stand by that for the rest of my life. You've hidden some cheese with some nuts and fruit around it.
we will get into lesser quality cheeses soon. Very, very
All right.
soon.
We're going to let you all get back to your half-baked holiday plans, and we'll speak to you all soon. Thank you so much, my lovelies, for tuning in and listening to today's episode of the Heartland Hot Dish Podcast. Hit that like button, subscribe, and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more listeners just like you. Until next time, keep savoring the flavors of the Heartland and sharing the love for this vibrant community. Take care and stay connected.